trustworthy message as it has been taught, so that he can encourage others by sound doctrine and refute to those who oppose it. For there are many rebellious people, full of meaningless talk and deception, especially those of the circumcision group. They must be silenced because they are disrupting whole households by teaching things they ought not to teach, and that for the sake of dishonest gain. One of Crete's own prophets had said it. Cretans are always liars, evil brutes, lazy glutens.
Lazy
This saying,
glutens?
gluttons, gluttons.
Oh.
This, the glutens, the lazy glutens,
The lazy glutens. They just
the
they just
lazy glutens.
they say they can't have the gluten, but then they're just like, I'm just lazy. I'm just gonna eat as much as I want.
They just
Whatever.
completely don't ever even.
I
They
can't
don't even
have
need.
this, but
It's
what?
like a double lazy. Why need the dough? I'm not. I'm
Hmm.
too much work to knead the dough and create that gluten.
Hmm.
So we're just lazy glutens.
Just like lazy. You know what? I wish we could quote that here. Can you? I almost want to write that down.
I don't know.
Lazy
I
glutens.
like knew it that it was gluttons, and I was like, I'm just gonna say glutens.
I gotta get that.
This saying is true. Therefore, rebuke them sharply, so that they will be sound in faith, and will pay no attention to Jewish myths or the merely human commands of those who reject the truth. To the pure, all things are pure, but to those who are corrupted and do not believe, nothing is pure. In fact, both their minds and consciences are corrupted. They claim to know God, but by the actions they deny him. They are detestable, disobedient, and unfit for doing anything good. You, however, must teach what is appropriate to sound doctrine. Teach the older men to be temperate, worthy of respect, self-controlled, and sound in faith, in love, and endurance. It's almost like Titus was the beginning of um,
Was
the
it
Knights of
Titus
the
or was it?
Round. The
Was it
Knights of the Round.
maybe? Was it Titus or tight ass?
Well, I think it's both.
Oh, okay. You know, it's funny. One of the original characters that I follow that we had this talk last week, but one of the original characters, one of the original founders, is of the church as far as like understanding Christ. His name was Origin. So if you want to go back to the origin, you go back to Origin because he's one of the actual original guys. Although I think his deal with self-flagellation was a little bit much. You know, he he had a different way of living. You know, doesn't work for everybody. But
Sometimes think that maybe a lot more people did smoke pot back then, but it was
oh man, I
so
think everybody
so
did all kinds of stuff. Really.
but it was so mild that it was almost just like the same as tobacco. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Well, did you hear? Yeah, listen to this. I don't know if you're rolling the video already or not.
Yeah, we're everybody. Welcome back. We are Aquarius. It's a toy gun.
At
Don't
what
worry.
time did you start it when I was reading Titus? Right? Did you start me
That's
at one?
I got most of it. I as soon as you started reading, I was like, oh, okay, maybe this is a good time. So I tried to roll it there, and I got most of it. But yeah, BC was doing
Or first is like
talking about Titus
shortening.
and all that. So
Um, now I lost my train of thought.
did you ever have one?
Probably not. What were we actually talking about?
What were we just talking about? We were talking about things, reasons for things, other things that could have reasons, and the reason why we have things. Then we got sidetracked and we started talking about gluten for whatever reason, and then after that, we
We're talking about glutton, but
well, you
did,
were,
did
you
you
know,
get that in there?
the gluten stuff. I got some of that actually, I believe.
So to cut it in half.
So, yeah, that I kind of got mixed up in there somehow. So, yeah, now I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. I got sidetracked. Thanks, Brad.
Encourages
You
young
totally
men to be
sidetracked me.
self-controlled.
What?
I don't know. You know what? You got to be a better person.
Me?
Well, everyone. I think the reality is like
I was gonna say, what the hell I do this time?
everybody's just so focused on themselves. They're so focused on themselves. You know, it makes sense why people said that the deadliest sin is pride, because you know what falls right beside pride? Shame.
I was gonna say discontent.
Shame, discontent's almost the same kind of. Shame is what people. I'm telling you, people have like no shame, and that means that they have like all this pride. But the only way you can have no shame is you have to have pride in yourself.
Well, there's a certain amount of pride I think you kind of need to have in life, but I think
Yeah,
because
but
that's
okay,
where people go.
pride of your accomplishments. No, pride of your accomplishments
Yeah,
is a healthy, organized thing.
yeah.
But the accomplishments are because of whom? Because of God. And that's where you should still be, being thankful to God for your own accomplishments, for the ability to have them, for the.
I guess
everything.
we could go back and forth with this. Like I would believe that I have pride over my accomplishments, and I thank God for giving me the ability to do the thing that I'm doing. You know.
And I don't see anything wrong with that.
So it's like I'm kind of on your page here, but I'm a little bit over to the side here with that
But
reasoning.
that's what I'm saying
like
about
because
shame.
I
If you do something shameful, and you have the pride to not say anything, you break a glass, and glass is everywhere, but you just walk away and you don't tell anybody, and there's little kids around that could fall into the glass and all that. You have to be so prideful to think like, I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna say anything. I don't want people to look at me on that.
yeah.
It's like, but that's, you show some shame.
hmm This is a thing that a lot of people come to with certain things, and we have this. We're almost having like disagreements even with our Christian community here, with even what's going on with schools. What they want to teach kids, and So here's the one side. I can basically say both sides from what I've seen, and I can kind of tell you what it's all about. Like one side wants to say that with teaching kids the transgender stuff at such an early age, they're trying to inform them so other people are respected and all that. But then again, because they're trying to teach this kind of stuff, they're trying to teach this ideology of this other sexual identity, which gets lost in translation because they're talking about stuff that's imaginary for the most part, with all these other he, she, it, they, then whatever things. Like it's so hard. It's conceptual. There's no structure to it. It's still a part. It's still a part of the generational phase. Like every generational phase phases out after some time. So this will be totally gone within like 10, 15 years. Just like the grunge phase, just like the hippie phase, all that will be gone. But like they're trying to say that it's a good thing, so everybody's like informed on you're respecting them with all that. But it comes down to like this word banter, this kind of tongue dialogue that it just goes all over the place. It doesn't make any sense, and it'll have to get to the point of trying to explain why they're the sexual thing, because the kids are going to keep asking. Do you understand when you talk to kids, they keep asking why, but why, because they want to understand what the purpose is. If they don't get what the purpose is, it doesn't make any sense, and then you just sound like you're making nonsensical stuff just like them. And so what they're going to have to do is to teach the kid about the sexuality. And so for the right side of things, they're like, no, we don't want this, because you're going to be indoctrinating, teaching them about sex ed at an early age before we get to. It's not your choice, it's our choice. And so people on the left like, no, we're just trying to make sure that they have the opportunity to, get it out to everybody.
We just talked about that the other time, though. I mean, like I said, my daughter's seven, and I've already given her the eggs and the honey talk. not the birds and the bees, just the eggs and the honey. Just intros, of like what you are, and like what I and what Victor, my son is, like,
And
and,
it's
and
that's up to you,
and
as a parent
we
to.
asked her questions. Like I said, we asked her questions in general about these things and what she feels about them. And I mean,
Mhm.
she kind of just, in her own opinion, gave the same things we feel. Now, I mean, I don't remember pressuring her on that, but I guess we've never like
But what you
gone
said the
on about
last
it.
time made sense. You're like, you asked her like, what should they be, and you said or she said a boy because he was initially was a boy. So it makes sense. But that's the thing. You get these kids in it, and then the teachers are going to be basically telling the children what there should be, even though
That's
the
what I'm
kids
saying.
have a
Kids should just be
different
talk to your parents,
have
though.
have it, but that's the thing. The kids are going to have a different ideology as to what they could
But there
be
should be, all
possibly.
right.
But
So,
then the
but there should
teacher
be
going to be
nothing.
like, "No, you're wrong," and then the parents going to be like, "No, you can't do this. You can't do this," and the teacher can be like, "No, you're wrong." And this is where the teachers are going to come off being complete assholes and just destroying any semblance
But then
of.
they're going to keep getting fired. Those kind of people,
And
radicals like that.
that's fine if they're fired, but it's still like there's no need for any of this. They're trying to force an ideology or an agenda or something just to look like they're current, just to look like they're part of the pop culture, and they're gonna fail hard with that because it's not up to them, it's up to the parents. And
Well,
here's the thing,
all
if
right,
it's
but
up to them and
cool.
everything gets up to them, we're going to have government run everything. We're going to be part of total communism in
But
that sense.
here's what I'm saying
And
though.
that's not what everybody
The
wants.
worst kind of people in all this are the people who are saying it should be up to the parents, but then don't actually like do anything.
Yeah,
Like,
they don't do anything
I
with it.
mean, you're the type of people where your kids are
Exactly.
gonna have other kids. I'm sorry, but your kids are gonna have other kids when they're teenagers. They're not really. They don't hold anything sacred. They don't. You know what I mean? It's they're
Exactly.
getting in. But look, Veritasium just did this whole thing on like the lead poisoning and all that, and how the guy pretty much made everybody dumber, and how like the if you show charts that the crime rates are like exactly the same as the lead poisoning. Like basically, if the kid
Hmm.
was exposed to lead poisoning, they grew up to have more crime. You know what I mean? Like it showed the same lines in all these different countries. Now
It's
you got.
bad metal in your system. You're not supposed to have lead in your system.
Well, that's what
you know, you
because of the
some.
gas. It was because of the gasoline. Everybody was using that leaded gasoline back in the day. That they like everybody had 1,000 times the amount of lead in them.
Oh, because they didn't have cats on their engine on their.
Well, now they were using lead as a way to get like more, not less engine knocking, to keep the fuel from combusting right away.
Oh. Oh, okay. I see.
And
I thought it had something to do with the catalytic
it
converters with
extremely supposedly made everybody in the entire like world dumber.
the catalytic converters. They hold that lead inside apparently, or they keep it from getting out too readily. But
That's why you always see like unleaded gasoline and all that nowadays.
the thing is, like,
Unleaded.
what's interesting? Every time I go to Florida, it always seems like people. I'm not saying everybody, but I'm saying there's a lot of people there that just, I don't know. It's like in one ear out the other. Like they don't seem to. And Florida has a law against catalytic converters, so they don't stop the lead from going out the
I don't
exhaust
think there's
point to
any
being in
lead
here.
anymore. There's no lead in the gasoline anymore,
But there's still the.
and they're still taking a lot of carbon
It's kind of.
monoxide probably.
I'm just saying it's still kind of a filtration system in a way. I don't know how much it does, but I could definitely tell you can smell the difference between being in Florida and being in a different state when you're driving. And you got the windows down, which I like to do because I don't have to burn up the AC in it. It's nice having the windows down. Well, except for if it's summertime in Florida, then you got to have the air conditioning on because it's too brutal. But yeah, I don't know. It's. Yeah, the thing is, like, with what's going on with that and the whole trans thing with that. It's just this is just a generational phase. It's going to go away. And here's what happened. Back in the 20s, we had the swingers, right? And it goes back and forth. It always goes back and forth. Extroverted, introverted, extroverted, introverted. So we had the swingers, which I can't really tell which one it was, introverted, extroverted. Then we have the beatniks.
Swingers would be like, extra, right?
Extroverted.
Where they
Okay.
go out and they're hooking up with everybody.
So
Just
so
swinging with
there so
everybody.
so that was a swinger generational phase. That was the cultural teenage, or probably it was more of like the middle age to teenage kind of revolutionary kind of phase, right? Then we go to the beatniks. The beatniks are an inward group. If you're not one of us, you're a square, right? You're not cool, And they have the little drum thing. They make little poems and stuff. They stay within the speakeasies, I think, and they have their own cool little thing. But it's introverted. So extroverted, introverted. Then we go to the hippie phase. Extroverted, love everybody, everything, everywhere, love, 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 love. The upside down cross, which was the Y. The peace symbol, which is upside down cross, Jesus upside down.
And then we went to like the goths.
Then we went to the grunge phase, which
Yeah.
included the goths, which was introverted, underground. You go to these groups. You're either in a rave, where you're going back and forth within the mosh pit, or you've got the goth kind of guys, the biker jacket kind of guys, the very in-group kind of guys. It was probably portrayed maybe a little bit based upon Happy Days with
I feel
the
like
one guy.
90s started to get a little bit messed up because of television. Television started to
Well,
make
television
things so
incorporated
like
some of that. So the MTV was trying to like draw that out into the extroverted side. But what I'm trying to say is
people got so
extroverted,
clingy.
introverted, extroverted, grunge phase, introverted, trans phase, extroverted,
But
love
you just skipped
everybody.
30. You just
but
skipped
but
like
then
30 years though.
but it
In the
goes.
90s and then 2000s, 2010s.
Yeah, but it does. It's not based upon millennial and somewhat is based upon millennials and
Yeah,
Xers and boomers.
2010 was more
But it's
introverted. Everybody was quiet and sheltered.
but
And now we get into
I'm saying as far
2020
as
and
like
everything
the
coming out
trans,
extroverted again.
this is like considered the trans community, or I guess it's probably considered the trans community in that sense. But now, because it's the biggest part, or we're thought to believe it's the biggest part, probably just due to media putting it out there, it might not even be that big, to be honest. Grunge phase, we thought it was big, but let's be honest, how big, was it if it's more introverted, right? You're part of the cool phase. So the next phase to come out is, guess what? Going to be introverted. So it's probably going to be some kind of like Puritan like kind of thing where they're going to look at all these trans people like monsters, because I'm just saying, they grow up, these kids that are getting forced to change their genders at an early age of like 3 or 4 or whatever, because the kid's like, oh, I wonder what it's like to be a mommy when the kid's a boy. And you're like, oh, he wants to be a girl. Let's go get him changed right now. And then they go post it on their Twitter feed, and they get all this exception because they're like, look at me. Look at my social justice here. I'm so important. I'm so good. And then the kid grows up and he goes to hate his parents because he can't get his dick back because he had it chopped off and they threw it away. They didn't keep it. They thought it was such a thing, and now the kid's going to rage against his parents.
10-inch black one.
And he had to go get it replaced with another. Maybe it's a different color because of that, And so they're going to grow up feeling like Frankenstein creatures. All of these kids are going to grow up being Frankenstein creatures in the future because they're going to have new body parts reinstalled because they're going to be like, I was a kid when I said that. You took me seriously? Kids say all the craziest shit in the world. They imagine all kinds of stuff, but you took them seriously? It's going to be looked at, that generation is going to be looked like the dumbest people. The trans generation be the dumbest people. What they're going to do is also take out all the things that happen with the Olympics, and they're going to categorize it trans. Just so the women can actually compete again. Because if the women's stuff is completely taken over by men faking being a woman just so they can beat a score and get themselves up there, they're going to be like, nope, fuck it. That stuff, trans. And in the future, it's all going to be just like this. There's going to be Frankenstein-like creatures that are going to hate their parents in the previous generation. The whole trans community, it's almost going to be like a witch hunt in a way. It possibly could be, due to the fact that these people are just crazy enough to keep this stuff going because they feel they're just right all the time. They don't think they could even potentially be wrong, and they're just going to mess up their child's life over that.
300 years since the last witch hunt.
I hate to say it, but we could be going up to a new one if that's the case, because the children
Who's
growing
gonna
up
start
under
that?
these
What's wrong
crazy
with you?
people are
I'm
going
trying
to
to
look
read
at.
Titus here, man.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I don't want this to happen, which is why it's like, you guys got to get yourself under control. You know, at least the grunge phase, we didn't try to push it on everybody. It was like, you want to be part of us, then you're cool. You know, but you get these extroverted sexual cultural phases, and they just go crazy. You know, maybe they had a point with the whole world war, not the world war, but the war with was it Vietnam back in the day? But they treated all the people that came back like killers. They hated on them
The
so
thing
much
is,
that, like, even Rambo was made, and it was kind of true. There was a lot of people that felt that they weren't accepted coming back home because everybody just wanted to hate on them, and they were just doing their job, or you know what I'm saying? So there was such a divide because of those kinds of
some
people.
some people want to just be slaves, you know? I think some people just want to just have like a simple life and not really do anything, you know? The problem is that slavery got turned into such a bad word. Just like how the Nazi symbol used to be like the Hindu symbol for peace, you know?
Well, it is a symbol for peace. It just Hitler
But that's
wanted
what I'm
to.
saying. I think slavery, you know, early America, like and mid America, ruined the terminology for slavery. You know, the idea that a person can just have housing on a property, and you know, what I mean, it's like, you know, what I mean, like I'm the leader of this house, but you know,
Mhm.
I treat everybody with respect. Obviously, you know, we procure enough food that everybody has, you know, good food, and you know, like with special occasion, they might not eat as well as I do all the time, but for special occasions, they'll surely, you know, you treat
Mhm.
people fairly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that could still be constituted as slavery because they're on your premises, living on your premises and living on your wages, but they have free roam to your premises, you know, during certain time they're allowed to use your, you know, fields and courts and all that kind of stuff. If it's their time off,
Mhm.
their day off, they're allowed to use the pool. You know, the pool's cleaned all the time. It's not like he's worried about people being gross. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like it's you don't look down on your slaves. They're just that's all they do is they work for you. You know, but everything got so constituted with money that we don't see that. You know, you don't feel like you're a slave to your job. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But in a sense, you are. It's just nowadays you're really just becoming a slave to yourself, and the job pays you, and you decide what you do. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But you're like a slave to yourself. Not you're not really a slave to other people anymore.
It's
Some people like to be slaves to other people. They don't have to worry about what they do. They just
it's not as much slavery as like a lot of people nowadays, and they don't even see this coming. Really, this whole Klaus Schwab thing, he wants you to just not own anything, be part of this group, do this, do that. That's feudalistic living. Of which case, you do become a slave because you are part of the slave system. I uh, previously, my friend was talking about the old Braveheart movie, Prima Noctis, where the king can have sex with any of the subjects or whatever. We were like, oh, that probably didn't happen. But then you look up the actual definition, and it means that a king with prima nocta, that uses prima nocta, can have sex with anybody in the kingdom at any time. So if you just get married, he could have sex with your wife before you even get to have sex with her, so he can have the firstborn, and well, he can't do shit about it. There's so many little things that happened within the
you can take it as an honor that the king wanted your wife.
You can, but then
Wow,
again,
she
your
must be
firstborn
good.
son isn't your firstborn son. You have a bastard child, which isn't yours at all, and everybody knows about it. And
Pretty
then
sure I
you're,
can get some money off of that bastard child.
yeah,
We gonna
but
keep
then,
this hush hush,
but
or do we got to go to the queen?
I'm just saying, things get really bad because then, if they don't like you,
Because I
you
only see
get
you
looked
with the
down
princess
upon.
over there. I don't even. He sounds like the firstborn son of your royal ass and heir to the entire throne.
Oh man,
Or you want to play this game?
I'm just saying, people look back on these movies and stuff, and they look at them somewhat romantically. But you can die in an instant just because a king, farted the wrong way, and it, made him feel bad, and then you laughed because he he just farted
I
so
definitely did
so
that.
loudly and is so grossly that you're like laughing like that. He's like, how dare you make fun of me? And he was drunk and he
You just fault
executes you
my part.
immediately. I
You just
mean,
can fault my part.
that's ridiculous. Like, people don't realize how bad that can be.
Looks
Like,
like we're gonna have a hanging tonight, boys. This guy just laughed at my fart.
yeah. I'm just saying, this is how it goes, man.
Hold him down on the table. Get the axe. We don't even have to do a hanging. We'll do a good old fashioned chopping for the people at the, watching the party.
Yeah. Wait, what is your profession? You're a butcher? Oh, well, guess what? We're getting your knife and we're going to cut off part by part and hang it up there. And we'll see how much it sells for in the morning. You know, we're gonna just the
You think it's
grossest,
silly?
the
I mean, you're gonna
grossest
kill a
part
guy over
of.
laughing at your fart? Farts are funny. Farts are funny?
Yeah, man, it's, I don't know. People are, and they'll say stuff like, "Oh, this is just an idea." Yeah, it's just an idea that you want to happen. It's just an idea that you're trying to get everybody into so that they'll go along with it and they'll be your slave. Because what is it?
Yeah,
When you don't own anything, you don't own
I
anything.
think as
Someone
people were
owns
like,
you and everything. That's what you do when you go in the military. You make an oath of service
I
to the
think people were
military.
all about like trying to destroy America, and then like as like it started to destroy their lives, they're like, wait a minute, no, no, we don't want to destroy our parts of our
We
lives of
just
America.
want to destroy the flag
Just the
itself.
government America. It's like the government America one is like one of the best parts. It's just that we have some corrupt people which are painted obviously now.
Yeah, we had
Even half the
amazing.
Republican side's painted
Yeah,
obvious.
I know. I know. A lot of people think like what you were telling me, like you weren't so interested in Trump initially, and I was a little bit suspicious initially too because he is a full hardcore Democrat and joining the Republican Party immediately, and he just brings along all the stuff, like all the stuff that the Republican Party stood for. There were so many things that were included in there that you would think that you know like the Democrats went against him thinking like, oh, he's anti-LGBT. No, he's full
I think
LGBTQ.
I think
Like
the reason I
he's
just
all
don't
on.
like to trust him is just because
It's
he seems like the perfect fit for the person, like the villain. He just does.
no, I
The
think
guy
it's that
who
he
cheated
actually.
out.
I think it's that he checked some of their boxes that they wanted for their president, but it's on the opposite side, and it just lost their mind because it's like some of the stuff he's just doing for them, and they're like, no, Republicans don't do that. Ah, and there goes the head. Um, and the thing is too, like you look at Biden, you think that he's like no, he acts like Republican. He's a warmonger, like from back in the day. He was a
But it's
hardcore
true. I
warmonger right
mean,
off the bat. People don't
I
see
th
it.
I think that's the other thing too is that
We had a Democrat Republican and a Republican Democrat.
what's true is that we know we can tell for a fact within the next 4 years because even if Trump wins this next time, Biden won't be alive again to ever run after or anything
He,
like that. Hillary won't be alive to be able to run after. Bush wouldn't be able to anyway. There's no other Bush, Jeb Bush or whatever. No other Bushes are ever like the whole chain is done. And for a long time, America has been riding on this chain of people. Even Trump has been part of this whole kind of group. Now that we're starting to see like there's not like you have a lot of more sensible people on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? People are just trying to be, well, I don't know. The Democrats don't really like have a side. It's more like both sides of
There's
the Republican
nobody.
side,
There's
including
really
that
nobody there.
libertarian. And
Like
I mean,
you're literally what I can see going forward is I just see Trump getting in, unless there's some other quadruple billion votes for this dead guy that nobody cares about and nobody wants in office. Like his rating is in the 20%. And if it's not, it's going to be in the 20% or 2% within this year. I can almost guarantee it. I'm going to make a bet. I'm going to make a Deadpool, and he's on the Deadpool, especially for his tally. It's going to be down to like nothing. His shit. It's because people don't. People on the Democratic side think, oh, he's such a, he's trying. No, he's forcing everybody to do these things.
I think that you're going to
If
start to see a better third party system starting to come back. I think it's going
and
to,
that would be a great idea.
and I think that you're going to even probably see like four parties trying to push out because you're going to
It's
start to see
probably
like,
yeah, because there's going to be one that's going to be light right and one's going to be light
and
left.
that's what I'm saying. Like, there's no reason to run in the same party as Trump if you're like a Republican that's not really on Trump's side.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, you might as well just not run on that ticket, run on your own ticket, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
or push him out or try, you know what I mean? Try to get I mean, I don't know. It's like,
I mean the fact is like the stats are show there was like more economic stuff that was good going on before, they pulled the COVID card out, and it just they're they had this plan. They already talking about it, and then next year it happens. It's like, come on, you
yeah,
can't be.
but do you really think that this Hunter Biden laptop is going to officiate something sooner or later? They're saying they're launching probes into it and that they're trying to do traces on the entire family now, for money wise and
It
all
could
like,
damn the whole thing, and then people will be like, "Oh, we got Kamala." Nobody cares about Kamala at all. She's like the most forgettable person ever.
yeah. I mean,
Like even even
and
Trump's.
after somebody pointed out how many people in Joe Biden's cabinet are women of color who have white husbands, it is weird. Like, it's weird.
It's almost like it was scripted, like it was
Yeah,
planned in
it's
a way.
so
Like,
weird. I
let's
mean,
make
that's what
sure
I'm
that you
saying.
have the right kind of husband with this right color. With I don't know,
Yeah, I'm just saying it's so weird.
maybe a coincidence, but usually I say if
Nothing's a
it's more than
coincidence.
two
Nothing's a coincidence in
coincidences,
politics. Nothing.
if
They
it's
leave no stone unturned. Nothing by chance.
yeah, if it's more than two coincidences, then it's not a coincidence. It's purposefully made that way. It just comes down to that.
There's like seven people or something like that. Seven different groups of people that like.
Yeah, that's not a coincidence at all. That's purposefully made that way because yeah, it just can't happen. It's not. It's mathematically almost impossible. It's the same thing with Biden getting the most votes in history, with a person that never campaigns. Everybody else always campaigning. Usually, the person that campaigned the best usually gets the ticket, and the person that doesn't campaign and gets the most votes in history. I'm like, that's just bullshit. That just cannot be true. It can't be true. There's got to be some hiccup
There's
in
no
the
way that
system
Biden got
somewhere.
81 million votes. There's just
Yeah,
no way.
it's just no way. It's just no way. And even if I was like a Democrat, if I was a hardcore Democrat, because I've had family on both sides all the time, so I'm always going back and forth. Like, well, maybe you got a point. Oh, well, maybe you got a point. But then I look at both sides of the facts and I try to come up with the most rational thing, and it usually comes down to who has the most evidence. That's the one that's right. And even if I was like more of like a very hardcore Democrat, I'd be like, yeah, it's a little fishy. I don't want to call it out because I don't want to, create some
No,
flames here, but
I don't understand I'm a
it does
Republican
smell
or
like
Democrat.
fish. What?
I just have my own opinions on things. I'm not really a Republican or a Democrat. I'm not a libertarian. I
Yeah.
like the idea of big government. I
Honestly,
do.
I'd
I
like to just I'd like to
control
just
big
not be
government.
any. I just like to not be anything. But when I look at both sides and I can like tell, okay, this one is has the facts and there's no rebuttal to it. So then that one's the one that's right. And if it happens to be mostly on one side for the
Look,
most part, then I'm
if
like,
you
well,
if you can
this time
create
this side
government,
is the
if you can
right
create government to
side, or
accept that they're slaves to the people, but that's the problem. Is the
yeah.
government, and that's what I'm saying.
Hmm.
If you could discontinue the terminology slavery, have a big government, but the government is literally. But see, you know what I hear a lot of youth saying nowadays? We need some way to bait, and they're not quoting them. We need a way to make, where everybody gets a say. I'm tired of you guys thinking everybody should get a say. So there's too many dumb people think everybody should get a say. The truth
That,
is, like I said, like Veritasium said, people were getting sick of lead poisoning. Some people who have tons of lead poisoning grew up to be criminals later and all. I mean, I didn't directly say that, but the correlation, which is not causation, does show this evidence that it's a good line.
honestly, I think there should be some sort of historical
We're
documentation
not in
test,
our right minds. None of us are.
and that's what I'm trying to say right now. If there was some historical document test that we'd have to fill out, we'd have to make sure we got it right. There could be multiple different kinds of tests put out there from certain people that were trying to, make sure you know your history, or you know what's at least going on here. If you can complete that test and get that test right, and you're of the certain age to vote, then you can vote. Because if you can't even understand what happened in the past, you can't even understand what's currently happening, the actual truth to it,
That's what I'm
when
saying.
you're putting it
For the
together, then what's the point?
for
You're
the
voting
government,
based
but that's what I'm
upon,
saying. We're not going to
who's
look.
going to get you some extra
We
money
can't
that
fix
you think
anything.
you.
We cannot fix anything until our government stops yelling at each other.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, we pay you X amount of dollars to get in there, not to just continually shove your new ideas and create new bills or manipulate wording as
But
weird as you
then
can to try to get what you
but
need
yeah,
to get done.
this is
You
what's
know,
happening.
you know what? We all live in a society where we don't need to make any new laws right now. We can just chill back for a second and think things through for a minute before we spend a whole binge on Adderall and 18 hours writing up some crazy ass weird
Well, that's
700-page
because that's what they
proposal.
think. Everything needs another drug. Let's throw more drugs at it. Let's injections and drugs. This is going to cure it all. That's what it's going to do. No, you're just going to fuck everybody. Now they're saying, we don't know why everybody in 20s and 40-year-olds are getting heart attacks and having seizures, and we don't understand why. Well, I guess if you look at all of them and see that they're probably all been vaccinated, that's probably where you need to start. They're going to be like, no, that can't possibly be it. It's just a new thing somehow, just somewhere. Well, I wonder. What was the big thing that was forced on everybody? I wonder. I wonder. Any consequences there? Well, some people died from the swine flu vaccine. It wasn't that much, but now that you forced pretty much almost the entire planet to do it, there's probably some side effects there that you're probably not. Well, I don't want to talk about it because the basic thing outweighs the side effect. How does it? How does it? What if in 10 years from now, 50 to 60% of everybody that got it is having a heart attack every week or two? Well, oops. Oh, well, you know, we learned from our mistakes. That was such a thing long ago. We don't do that anymore. We're 10 years in the future. It's better now. We know what we're doing.
I know that's all we're gonna teach our kids. They're gonna be like, those people are so stupid. We have it so much better by splitting these photons in half.
Just stand in this particle accelerator, Timmy. Don't worry
Listen,
about it. Oh, we're going to need another Timmy.
listen.
While I stand behind his lead shield.
I've been trying to figure this out. Let's use your one light minute away, okay, for our distances here.
Hmm.
You're telling me that it. All right, this is what I don't quite understand. You ready? You ready? This is the fathoming part of it. You're one light minute away, okay? But if something at half the distance between you and the object, so that would be 30 seconds of a light minute, 30 light seconds away, right?
Mhm.
Let's say there's a planet or a big rock that's 1 light minute away, or it can even be a satellite because it's not obviously not planets. One satellite that's 1 light minute away, right? And then there's a bigger satellite that's half the distance, 30 light seconds away, that passes in front, right?
Mhm.
Now, here's the question. You're you're seeing at 30, you're still seeing the thing, all right, the 1 light minute away, and then at 30 seconds in, since it's 30 seconds away, I should have just done 1 and 2. This would have been a little bit easier.
Yeah, it's. Are you sure it's 1 light minute away though?
I'm just Yeah, well, let's say two. Let's just change it. It's 2 minutes, 2 light minutes away, and 1 light minute away.
Okay, very good.
30 second minute, 30 seconds is like a tongue twister.
Wait, what are we talking about?
So you're looking through a telescope
Oh,
at this object that's 1 light minute away, a 2 light minutes away. A bigger object is going to be going in front of it 1 light minute away. Okay, but that's only 1 light minute away. So
white minute away?
white minute away, yes. So when it crosses in front,
Hey, let's not be racist. Let's include all the colors.
when it comes in front, it's gonna take 30 seconds before I see it, right?
Sure.
But the the light beams out in a circular fashion. So, all right, so for that 30 seconds, so I don't see it. I see the thing that's 2 minutes away, and then 1 minute comes by, it cuts in front, and I see it, right? Oh, wow, 1 light minute away, even though it was a minute ago that it actually cut in front, right? So
Hmm.
you're telling me that I won't see that object, even when the object is actually right in front, that the light. So what I'm saying is, I guess what the point that I'm trying to get is, are you saying that the photon itself contains the light that we're seeing? You understand what I'm saying? What exactly are we seeing? If we're seeing something far away, but that's the light from so long ago, right?
It's kind of like a transmission, but the fact is the light is like a rope. It's touching you,
But
and
it's not a rope anymore. You can't even think of it as a rope because it's not. It's the other thing's long. Dude,
you're
these
you're
things we're looking
still
at
it's still
13
shoot it's
billion
shooting
light
this
years
it's
ago,
shooting
that
the
stuff's not
strand.
there anymore.
But the thing is, it's shooting the strands of the rope at you. But every time it gets to touch you, it disappears. It goes inside you, gets transmitted as something else, or and plus it might
You see
spread
what I'm
out and
saying?
make multiple
It's
copies of itself. And so when it touches you, it hits you, it disappears, or it turns into energy, or it transmutes into something else, and then the rest of the rope keeps touching you, but then that disappears and breaks away and turns into something else. So it's just one continuous stream of energy in a straight line, and every time you touch it, you
but
get intertwined with it.
but would it be possible? Would it be possible then, theoretically? Okay, so yes, because we can use mirrors. We can bend the light
Back.
and still see it. So it doesn't matter where you are. You can
Hmm.
bend. You could be facing this way, and even if you're not using mirrors, if you could figure out a way to
Oh,
bend the light,
it makes sense.
you can still see it.
Only the purest of objects will reflect that which is light.
Well, yeah, we only see
Do you see
suns.
where that goes metaphorically too, as well? Because they have a silver pane behind it or a stained glass pane behind it, then glass to make the mirror. but it reflects most of, if not all of that, back out somewhere else because it can't absorb. I have to give off. I cannot take any of that energy. I'm only a mirror of that energy. It's
Just,
almost.
it's just what I'm saying is like if I were to take a telescope, right, and I crisscrossed what I'm looking at, I'm gonna see something completely different. So even though the same light that's coming off that planet is coming this direction, if I were to shoot something this way, I'm hitting the same light, but I don't see the same thing. I see directly through it, but it's the light that actually contains the image. So only in the exact angle do you even see that image. But the light's there floating from the object.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying? It's like
Yeah.
the question that I have is, are we sure that we're seeing these things from the image of light that we're capturing, or from how far our telescope? Because if you look, all right, I guess you have a lot of digital telescopes and stuff that just gather in data. But the question is, the magnification system, does the magnification actually take away from the distance because you're capturing new light? You're passing the light from your area and you're zooming, you know what I mean? If you were to zoom so far in directly into the planet itself, are you still saying that you're visually seeing things from 100 million years ago? If you're directly, you know what I mean, able to zoom in so close to the planet, you can literally watch something from 100 million years ago because the light still coming in is, or have you gotten that close that you're now able to see current because
Um.
the light is going into that filtration from where you're visually seeing it.
Well, the fact is, if it's going through space, and space is really just mostly void of material, then there's nothing to stop it from getting to you almost instantly. Unless there's some like plasma material it's going through that's kind of slowing it down. But that's the other thing too. What if it's going through some plasma field that we can't see? But if it is going through a plasma field, what if the plasma field accelerates it? It's hard to say, like, because
Right.
you'd have to travel, like you'd have to do this. You'd have to travel. Maybe the best
Something
calculation. Maybe
like
the
a
best
minute
calculation
or
is
even a
to
second.
the best calculation is travel to the moon, travel back, do it often enough, know the exact time it gets from the moon to the ground, then calculate the light that it takes from getting from the moon to the ground, same exact distance and same place you took off from, and then using that same calculation but based upon light. And then
But I
you could
mean,
probably
I'm
multiply
saying
it from there.
I'm saying the
Get
moon is like what, six something seconds away still. There's
from
like a
like a
six there's
from
like a couple of delay. It's a little bit of a delay from light, but I think that's from the naked eye. That's what I'm saying. If we have a high powered telescope and we zoom right in, you're saying that we would still see, something from 6 seconds ago or whatever.
um I think it's different because with the outside of the atmosphere, you know how you have a contact lens and it's convex? Concave means it's caved in, so it's like this. Convex means it's like this. So convex is typically the way you put the glass on anyways. Our eyes are made to be convex so that we can actually shoot out and see the object better. I know it's coming in, but the way it's made is so that we can, because even in night vision we give off light, but I guess with the sunlight we
I think,
kind of utilize that. But convex helps us see things.
but I don't think that's how our
You know,
telescopes are really I mean, are we still, I thought we just made digital telescopes by now.
it's still the same thing. It's just taking the picture in digitally. That's all it is. They're still using the lenses.
Yeah,
They're,
don't you
they
think there should be like a way around that
they
by
still use
now?
lenses. But if you ever
I think
do
lenses
you
seem so archaic.
do you have do you have like a
I know how a telescope works.
do you have a telescope?
You don't need me to do like a $3 project to make a telescope to
No, no, no.
understand.
I'm just saying. Do you have a
Do
telescope?
you have
You
a
can
paper
see.
towel roll and some old reading glasses?
Yeah. Well, I'm saying every single thing on the end of that, even a telescope, is convex. The same way our eyes are shaped, but also the planet. With the mirroring effect of the planet, it's convex. So it amplifies what we see out there. So sometimes I wonder, maybe the moon does get close to us because it gets really, really big. They say it's a mirroring effect, but if it's a mirroring effect, it's a mirroring effect of what? Is there extra water in the atmosphere? I don't see it. I don't see water in there. I don't see clouds. I maybe the moon is getting closer. Maybe the moon is really, really close to us based upon how much light the sun gets. Maybe it's based upon how much light something gets. It just illuminates it to be bigger. But I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know.
I think it's just interesting.
You know?
I think lasers are the future for everything for us, even telescopes. Sooner or later, we'll be able to shoot a high-powered laser and then be able to somehow read.
And that's what's going to be through. It's going to be through the convex lenses of a telescope. That's how they made higher power lasers. That's how they make higher power lasers, shooting it through glass through certain angles to force the laser to be more powerful or have more distance to push through. And yes, they do use like crystals like rubies and stuff like that to make a more high powered, laser to go through. They use all these techniques. They use all these things.
You
That's
know,
what I said. If you're trying to figure out how to do something, almost anything's possible.
with
It's
all the
just a matter of how
mechanical,
you manipulate the
with all the
material.
mechanical stuff that you see, like in the past, even
It's
like the
just
Trojan
manipulation.
horse, or like all the big structures. It's funny how you never really see like some kind of like crazy sun contraction with mirrors, like a ball that could literally, what I mean, like we know the sun hits it at this time of the day, and because it does that, it starts like it beams down and starts a fire in the
Are,
town or something.
are
It
you
just
talking
keeps
about a
down.
MacGyver episode? Because there was one like that.
Really?
Yeah,
Probably.
they were trying to find this ancient tomb or whatever, and we get to the ancient tomb, and it was the light of the light of the gods would illuminate the path. And so you had to put this giant ruby crystal within a certain area. The sun hits it, reflects it off of all these reflectors, shoots the light through the ruby crystal. The ruby crystal shoots that light straight out to a point, and it exploded this huge, like stone monument, and like opened the way, to like the treasure of some fucking guy. And then then the bad guys are like, "Oh, we got the treasure. Trap them. Throw them back in the cave so they die." And then they try to make off with it, and then MacGyver's got to find his way out. It was.
Ruby's worth way more than that treasure.
I think the treasure was more than that, but I don't remember. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting the episode wrong,
The
but
size of this ruby?
it was
It's
it was
turtle
no
shell.
no 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 yeah, because the episode they were trying to figure out what the treasure was, and the treasure for the people back then, the gold that they stored up for themselves, was the corn seeds for their harvest. That was the gold, and the bad guy was really pissed because he's like, seeds, seeds. This is their gold, Well, that was what fed them, That was their that's how they lived.
If you dig deeper, sometimes they just hide that from the
Yeah.
government and stuff to pretend like they don't have any money.
Yeah, maybe
They're
they did keep.
sneaky.
They're like, well, the bad guys are going to get seeds, and we really have more, a little more to it.
Maybe they had gold flakes in the seeds, like we were talking about the other day.
Maybe.
The,
Even
the
I saw one of these other previous movies. I think I told you about it. It was Uncharted. Did you see Uncharted? You ever play the game Uncharted?
no doubt. I did not.
at one point they come to discover this one thing. They're like, all the gold is stored in here, all this super powerful treasure is stored in here. They break open one of these vases. What comes out of the vase? Salt. They're like, where's the gold? Back in the day, salt was valuable for Roman trade.
Watch
To
this.
salt the meats to make sure you could send your food out. I mean, it depends on the time. What's valuable?
I
Salt
watched
was.
this